Tonight's big stories. The now infamous Captain's Peak Resort in Bohol has been shut down as authorities scramble to investigate why it was given a permit to begin with. The Bohol town of Sagbayan revokes its permit.
Another exchange of words between Marcos and Duterte, this time over the current president's frequent overseas travel. Marcos's answer to Duterte, saan yung pasyal? We don't make pasyal.
And is he or is he not gunning for the Senate again next year? Former Senator Kiko Pangilinan will be joining us in the studio to set the record straight on his plans for the 2025 midterm elections.
Welcome to the show. I'm Regina.
I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Shawn.
After that innocent vlog post made them go viral, the Captain's Peak Resort in Bohol has now found itself shut down, at least temporarily. The Environment Department sought the assistance of the Sagbayan LGU to implement the temporary closure order against the resort. In a letter to Town Mayor Restituto Suarez, the DENR noted that the resort continued to operate despite being asked to temporarily close shop last year due to violations. Now, adding to their problems, the Senate Tourism and Environment Committees are now seeking an investigation into the structures within Chocolate Hills.
Nagsalita na rin ang DILG. Interior Secretary Benwer Apolos says any activity that disturbs or damages protected areas such as the Chocolate Hills without proper authorization is prohibited by law. We will look into the accountability of the LGUs concerned. Apolos adds that the agency will not hesitate to pursue appropriate legal action if there is neglect of duty. He says under our local government code, LGUs have the mandate to enhance the right of the people to a balanced ecology. If illegal construction was allowed within a protected area, this would fall gravely short of this responsibility.
Yun nga, kitang-kita natin in this case specifically na napaka-ambiguous ng DENR guidelines on multiple-use zones. So, 20% ba talaga? Limited ba? Kailan ba i-upgrade to more
Actually, kasi
stringent regulation?
nasa NIPAS law, National parang Protected Area Law, where they allow livelihood activities or you to construct, but within the management plan of DENR.
And
so yun yung
20%
malabo.
from base to tip, tama?
Yun ang sinasabi ni Miss Julieta Sablas kahapon na 20% lang naman daw yung occupy nila ng Chocolate Hills at yun daw yung pinayagan ng DENR. Hindi naman daw sila nagva-violate.
Oo, pero it has also shed light na napakadami pa ring missing pieces like inassume ng isang office na meron na silang necessary permits, the provincial office, parang, the town rather, the munisipyo, parang paano nyo inassume na meron na, di ba? So, it's brought to light na ang dami ring mga, kumbaga, gaps.
Hindi rin nila alam actually na may temporary closure order na inihain ng DENR September of 2023. So they were not
again in January.
followed. It was not followed and therefore not served. And they had the Bohol Provincial meet swimming competition itong February lang.
Yun nga So, ang
And
daming
then
ang daming butas.
We're seeing a report on Rappler today that said that the Captain's Peak Resort business permit has been revoked, according to the office of Sagbayan Mayor Restituto Suarez. He spoke to reporters today and they've revoked the permit of this controversial resort.
Where it is clear last night that Ms. Julieta said that they got all the permits from DENR, from the LGU, without having an environmental compliance
Yun lang yung
certificate.
kulang.
So yun yung kulang.
Okay.
Yun daw yung hinahabol nila.
But you're not supposed to operate without an ECC
Dapat
anyway.
mauna yun.
Yeah.
Oo.
Dapat mauna magkaroon ng ECC. I mean, I thought that was pretty basic. Also, I'm not sure how all the other permits were given na wala pa yung ECC, right? But also, on this show, I know Regina and I weren't here, but it was uncovered and Gretchen was messaging with us sa aming chat, na supposedly na-reveal nga ni Ms. Julieta that there are 2 other resorts operating within the Chocolate Hills. That is, of course, according to Captain's Peak Manager, si Ms. Julieta.
Sana lahat makita nyo po yung mga resort po dito. Kung talagang Captain's Peak lang po ba ang nagawa ng ganitong nasa Chocolate Hills po. Meron pang mas malala pa po dito. I will not mention the resort. Pero kung gusto niyo po kayo na mag-iimbestiga para naman makita nyo na fair talaga yung desisyon ng lahat ng mga tao.
Oo.
Kasi yung po sa amin, yung gusto ko po, yung mag-i-investigate, hindi lang po sa video, pero mas sana,
Pumunta
actual
dyan.
po, nandito po sila para makita nila kung talagang nakalabag po kami ng Chocolate Hills. I will
Mga ilan
not
po
mention
isasabi
it.
niyong mga resort na nakatayo sa Chocolate Hills?
2.
May dalawa pa po.
They are older than the Captain's Peak Resort.
2 po bukod po sa inyo. Tama po?
Yes.
Okay.
Mas malala pa.
Ayun na,
Kaya
throw
yung
each
meaning
other
ng
under
mas
the
malaki.
bus.
Pero no, the Chocolate Hills, ito nga, no, 1,776 hills spread across 3 towns. To be fair, I have gone there a bunch of times by observation deck. Di ako nagstay sa resort, pero if you go to the observation deck, you can't really see all 1,776. And it's not visible from that observation point kung na meron ngang resort. But I think drone photography and videography has changed all of that.
Well, it does reveal a lot of things. But we do still need to send people on ground to verify the information that we get. So, Shawn?
Oo. So, ang tanong, no, kung yung Captain's Peak Resort nga ba talaga ay yung nag-iisa or the only resort within or inside the Chocolate Hills protected area. DENR officials and News 5 went there personally to find out. Let me bring in John Aroa to give us the updates from that trip. John, what did you see?
Yes, Shawn, the management of Captain's Peak Resorts is calling for a fair and impartial investigation, given that, as they mentioned last night in the big story, that there are still resorts operating within the Chocolate Hills. We actually visited one of the Bud Agta in the town of Carmen, which is still currently operating. The provincial government of Bohol says it will inspect the resort to find out if it has an ECC and if it's complying with the relevant laws. As for Captain's Peak, DENR officials conducted an inspection of the resort earlier today. The inspection serves as proof that the resort has indeed been closed off after failing to comply with the previous temporary closure order issued by the DENR last year. While it's an attractive destination on its own, the problem is in its location, which sits right in the middle of the mounds of the famous Chocolate Hills. With its closure, at least 16 resort employees are now out of work.
Para sa akin, ang sakit kasi may binubuhay akong 2 anak. May kapatid akong pinapag-aaral doon sa kolehiyo. Kaso, na-sustain ko para sa allowance nila.
Meanwhile, the local government of Sagbayan admits that they too had lapses after they issued a business permit to Captain's Peak, even if the resort did not have an ECC.
There is a regular presumption on the part of the office of the mayor kasi nadadaan yan sa MPDC at sa engineering office at saka sa Menro pati sa assessor. Dadaan yan eh. So once idudulog dito sa opisina ng mayor, I will have to review it. I think we have to be more strict na, make it sure that all the laws should be complied with.
Shawn, the DILG is also looking into possible lapses committed by the local government units, allowing the constructions of resorts within the Chocolate Hills protected area. Shawn?
Thank you, John. That was News 5's John Aroa.
The question on everyone's mind is, why was this place given a permit to begin with? To help shed some light on this, we have attorney Handel Lagunay, who is the Provincial Legal Officer of Bohol. Attorney Lagunay, good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Gretchen, Regina, and Shawn. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to clarify is your role in all of this. So I wanted to explain to our viewers why we're speaking to you, and that is that we wanted to speak to someone from the provincial government. And initially, we were reaching out to the governor's office, but we weren't getting much of a response and any confirmation that they're willing to come on. So eventually, finally, napunta sa'yo, they offered you to speak with us. So in that regard, you are speaking on behalf of the provincial government, correct?
Yes, correct po.
Okay, very good. So that aside, can you help us understand the process here in terms of handing out permits? How much of an oversight does the provincial government have in terms of granting permits as well, in particular, private tourism establishments?
Okay. Because this area is a protected area under the NIPAS Act, so it's the Protected Area Management Board. Yun siya talaga ang may primary jurisdiction in giving clearance, pag-impose ng mga restrictions and limitations. And for the construction of the building permit will be issued by the municipality, the local government that's under the building code. Ordinarily, there's not much participation of the provincial government in the issuance of building permit. However, the provincial government takes very special concern on protected areas, especially with Bohol being designated as a global geopark. And the Chocolate Hills area is one of the reasons we were given that designation by UNESCO.
Okay.
So, nang pumutok na ito last year, August and June, so the Governor Aumentado wrote a letter to DENR asking for explanation. Bakit nakaganito? There is this news report of there is this resort na ganito ang structure niya, ganito ang design niya, and sticking out like a sore thumb in the middle of lush green Chocolate Hills. And so the Sangguniang Panlalawigan also conducted an investigation. And doon lumalabas na they really went through the process sa PAMBI. And they were given this permits by the LGU. But then again, nakita na may mga pagkukulang because even if the land is titled, it's privately owned, no? May titulo ito siya before the area was declared as a protected area. There is this limitations talaga na dapat sundin. For example, yung color scheme niya, yung structure should blend with the natural environment para naman hindi masama tingnan. And so, we are now in this stage na nagka-viral ulit with the post ng blogger, and it found out na hindi pa pala naka-issue ng response ang DENR based on the committee report of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan. Like, there should be policy changes so that the Sanggunian also can enact ordinance to complement sa mga regulation na kinakailangan, especially in this protected area.
Okay, Attorney, speaking of policy changes, Governor Aumentado did say that you have asked the DENR and the PAMBI to change its policy. What exactly what's the management system applied here to the Chocolate Hills by the DENR? Because Ms. Julieta Sablas mentioned last night that meron daw 20% lang daw, pasok naman daw sila, pwede naman daw yun. Kumbaga 20% ng Chocolate Hills, yung area of construction that is allowed. Is that part of the policy that you're talking about?
That could be part of the policy kasi what is the basis at 20%? No, it needs clarification. Is that the vertical height limit of the structure? Is it the footprint of the building, yung 20%? And then ang distance niya from the hill. What's the color scheme that should be adopted? Kasi ngayon nakita natin it's a clash of colors that doesn't really blend well with the environment. And Governor Aumentado, in one of the statements sa interview niya, said he plans to create a separate body to complement na composed of environmentalists, siguro mga landscape architects, and they have an eye for aesthetics na to review first yung mga design before PAMBI will act on the application for development sa mga clearances. So that can be one area na kinoconsider na policy change. Hindi lang lahat na parang adding an extra layer. Well, we're adding an extra layer just to make sure na what needs to be placed there is really yung nagko-complement sa area and consistent siya sa sustainable development for Bohol, especially na global geopark ang Bohol.
Okay, attorney, tama nga yung sinabi mo, no? Hindi na bago itong issue, ngayon lang siya, nakaka-catch ng attention ng lahat. Pero tama ka, pumutok na ito last year. In fact, by September, pinag-uusapan na rin, no, itong second resort, itong Budagta sa town naman ng Carmen, na may Chocolate Hills din po doon. I just wanna know, since pumutok na siya last year and since pumutok ulit siya this year, ano po yung nagyari based on yung mga investigations? Kasi it's been, roughly 5-6 months, maybe a little bit more. Have there been any differences? Have there been any updates to like yung pamamalakad po in terms of permitting, etc.?
Yeah, we were really, especially the committee sa environment sa Sangguniang Panlalawigan, we're waiting for inputs coming from DENR in order naman, kasi we're also consulting DENR na saan ba sa existing guidelines and that needs enhancement. According to board member Jamie Villamor, the chairman of the Committee on Environment, his office has been making several follow-ups pero walang clear update, no, from DENR hanggang sa pumutok na naman, nagka-second viral na yung issue do ngayon. And it's just now that we learned na nag-issue pala ang DENR ng temporary closure order sa nitong sa Captain's Peak. Had we known na meron pala ito before, we could have assisted and supervised the LGU of Sagbayan to enforce, to assist DENR in enforcing the closure order.
Right.
Pero
That's
we
another
never knew
issue.
about it.
Sorry to interrupt, attorney, but while we're talking about that initial closure order, I believe 2 times na nga may in-issue, no? Late last year and earlier this year. Saan nga po ba napunta yung closure order? It seems nobody received it. We're able to trace who received it, which office, and what happened to it, kung bakit hindi na-cascade properly.
Yeah. We had a talk with the representative naman sa LGU ng Sagbayan. And then, based on their information provided to us, they learned that a copy was provided to Captain's Peak, no? Pero the LGU of Sagbayan and the province of Bohol were never informed na binigay pala yon. Even during the committee meeting sa Sangguniang Panlalawigan, it never came out. So, we're surprised na meron na pala. So, ngayon, they're enforcing it. And that's the reason daw bakit LGU Sagbayan was able to issue business permit year on year because they were never aware na may temporary closure order pala.
Attorney, kayo po ba, ang opisina niyo po ba ay merong kopya ng mga guidelines on building around the area of the Chocolate Hills? Meron po kasi usually ang provisions eh. Ito pwede, ito bawal, ito pwede. Meron po ba kayong kopya nun?
We're just getting a copy right now, no? Pero from what I've seen, it's in the guideline na ini-issue ng PAMBI. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy in front of me right now. But what I remember is yung limitation, it should not be built higher, no, sa hill, some distance, materials, and yung color should not be, the color should complement. Although hindi masyadong clear yung sa mga aspect na yan. So there needs to be some improvement in the guidelines.
So kung ito po ay ngayon nyo lang po nakuha, hindi ito yung policy changes na nabanggit ni Governor, ano? Kasi ngayon nyo lang po natanggap yung actual details.
Or ito po ba yung policy ng PAMBI mismo?
Yeah, yung policy ng PAMBI mismo na take up doon sa Sangguniang Panlalawigan hearing sa committee that they want to be improved or changed.
let's set aside the closure order from September 2023. Let's set that aside for a second. I want to get something straight. It feels to me, pasensya na attorney, that you're kind of passing the bucket at the moment, first to the local LGU and then also to DENR. My question is, the provincial government knew of this resort since 2018. You knew at that time it did not have the ECC. And my simple question is, did you not have the power to do something at that point in time?
Yung closure, order to close a business is really primarily within the power of the municipal government. So, because it's the municipal government that issues the mayor's permit or the business permit and even issues the building permit, so it's the municipal government that has the primary power to do that. The
And you guys
provincial
don't-
government can supervise and make sure that the local government will do its part.
When you say supervise, up to what extent does that cover? You can only make recommendations?
There's no oversight
the
powers?
governor can make a directive to the mayor to enforce that.
In which case, will the mayor be, kumbaga, wala siyang choice kung hindi sumunod doon sa governor?
Yeah, he has to follow. Kasi from what we learned now, the DENR has made it clear na wala pala siyang ECC. And LGU Sagbayan has, according to the news, already revoked the permit.
Yeah, nga, I guess that's my question, attorney. It's right. We're only finding out about this now because we don't live there, but you guys have oversight of the province, and therefore, could we not have done something sooner? Kasi since 2018, we knew that they didn't have an ECC, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. Because we never knew na may closure order, the presumption is okay ang pag-operate nila at that point. Kasi wala namang klaro na sinasabi, even if it's under investigation. But if there is no order from the PAMBI to for the resort to close, so our presumption is okay. It's been allowed to operate even with these issues about its yung structure niya na ganyan because it's still under review.
So,
Okay.
bale, attorney, like, just to clarify really quickly, primary jurisdiction, as you said, lies with the PAMBI. Having said that, so bale, kumbaga, sila na dapat yung nagdidikta ng lahat, yung may-ari ng resort, dapat rerekta na rin doon sa PAMBI. Is that how it works? They can completely, kumbaga, go over your heads?
No. Well, that's their primary jurisdiction. But of course naman, no, the provincial government has to also closely work with PAMBI and the local government unit.
Okay.
Hindi naman na
Yeah.
naghuhugas kamay ang provincial government with this. Pero let's just put in place kung ano talaga, who is the first in line that should really act on it.
Understood.
Thank
Okay,
you, Darius.
we're going to have to leave that there for now. Thank you so much for shedding light on the matter. That was Attorney Handel Lagunay, Bohol Provincial Legal Officer.
Well, in other news and in other countries, President Bongbong Marcos is now on the second half of his two-country Central Europe visit, arriving in the Czech Republic after a three-day working trip to Germany. How did the president's first day in Prague go? Let's find out from Maricel Halili, who is reporting to us live from Prague. Maricel, what do you have for us?
Gretchen, the activities of President Bongbong Marcos have commenced today here in Prague, Czech Republic, for his three-day state visit. He is currently now here at the Prague Castle for various meetings where he emphasized once again the position of the Philippines in the issue of the West Philippine Sea. Midnight, President Marcos arrived with First Lady Liza here in Prague. The president's first agenda was a visit to Prague Castle, where he was given arrival honors in the first courtyard. Marcos later signed the guest book and exchanged gifts with Czech President Peter Pavel. Following this, the two proceeded to a tete-a-tete or private meeting followed by a bilateral meeting. Just after their joint press conference, the president stated that he updated President Pavel on the current situation in the West Philippine Sea. He also also emphasized the Philippines' position in implementing the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. As tensions continue to rise in the West Philippine Sea, the Philippines continues to engage in discussions with our neighboring countries and like-minded nations such as Czech Republic to support peace in the region. The two leaders also discussed the strengthening of partnerships in the fields of trade and investment, agriculture, green economy, renewable energy, aerospace, education, tourism, defense, and cybersecurity. Marcos also assured that the Philippines is ready to collaborate in providing protection to Filipino workers, especially now that the Czech Republic plans to hire more than 10,000 Filipino workers in May. Gretchen, President Marcos will be having a meeting with various officials today, including the Senate President, the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, and the Czech Prime Minister Peter Fiala. Gretchen?
And following the president all around the world. Thank you so much for those updates, Maricel Halili. And up next, saan yung pasyal? We don't make pasyal. President Marcos hits back at those criticizing his frequent foreign travels. More on that when the big story returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
Now, as we were talking about before the break, President Marcos is in Central Europe. But before President Marcos left Germany for the Czech Republic, he did meet with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. In that meeting, he was asked by Scholz what his administration was doing to combat the drug problem. Marcos said his approach was, quote, much different from that of the previous administration.
Kailangan natin tignan is the prevention and the rehabilitation, which is, I think, a different approach. So we have a much different approach.
Recall that Germany was one of the countries that voiced their opposition to former President Duterte's war on drugs. Marcos said he had to explain to Scholz why he is refusing to cooperate with the ICC investigation.
And I explained to him our concerns over jurisdiction that we have explained many times over. Our concerns with the jurisdiction of the ICC in the Philippines and why it is why we are not recognizing that jurisdiction and the reason behind that.
Speaking of getting justice under the Marcos administration, the president also told Scholz that erring cops have been put behind bars because there are questions nga kung effective nga ba yung justice system natin, di ba? At nabanggit din niya na he opposes violent approaches to the drug war, and Human Rights Watch puts the number of drug war deaths under former President Duterte at 12,000. Pero significant nga ba ang pagbabago sa drug war under PBBM? Let's look at the numbers. Now, according to data from the UP Third World Studies Center, which we found on Rappler, there were 342 drug-related killings in the first full year of the Marcos administration. A separate Vera Files investigation published last year pegged the killings in the last year of the Duterte admin at 302. So that's 40 more killings in Marcos's first year in office.
President Marcos was also asked to comment on the latest tirades of former President Duterte on a number of things, chief of which was charter change. The latest being Duterte accused Marcos of plotting to extend his term. That's why his administration is pushing for cha-cha daw. And where it gets confusing is, diba, if you remember in a separate live stream weeks ago, Duterte said back then that he had no problems with cha-cha as long as the amendments were economic. So that's why even the President Marcos right now is confused. Listen to this.
Papalit-palit eh. So I'll have to examine it further, read it kasi very quick ko lang narinig ang balita, kanyang mga remarks. So tignan ko muna kung ano ba talaga yung sinabi niya para maintindihan ko dahil hindi ko talaga naintindihan kasi parang naiba bawat salita niya iba eh.
Reminds me of that time we were covering President Duterte's late night press conferences. Papalit-palit. Okay, now Marcos also has may sagot din sa banat ni former President Duterte. Madalas daw siyang namamasyal.
Saan yung pasyal? This is my schedule for today. Where's the paseo? Wala. You know, yung kasama nyo kami, we don't make pasyal. Even in the places that I know or I've spent a lot of time with, hindi ko napupuntahan yung mga dati kong pinupuntahan because we're here to do this.
Yan ang pinakasikat na quote of the day mula kay President Marcos. Pero in the end, the President says wala namang personalan. Binati niya pangaraw ng advance happy birthday si former President Rodrigo Duterte, whose birthday will be on March 28.
Personal ko namang kilala si PRRD. So, like I've told you many times before, hindi ako na personal. Nahihiwalay ko yung trabaho. So, I don't see a problem there.
After this quick break, we will be joined by former Senator Kiko Pangilinan live here in the studio to discuss his plans for 2025 and his new TV show. Don't miss that. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching The Big Story here on One News.
As the Liberal Party gears up for the 2025 polls, 3 names were announced as potential candidates for the Senate. Tonight, we're speaking with one of them, former Senator Kiko Pangilinan, who is with us live in the studio. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, Gretchen,
Okay,
Shawn, and Regina.
how we started with Attorney Chel Jokno.
Yeah.
We had to confirm, no? Senator Laila De Lima's statement that you will be running for the 2025 midterm polls. So, are you or are you not?
I was just with her this morning, and we had that clarified. We are seriously considering that as one option, no, to go back to the Senate. But we have not made our final decision yet. There's a process that we're undergoing together with Senator Chel, BAM. So we're discussing this still. So I'm seriously considering it. It's an option, and at the right time, we will make the proper announcement.
So you're still waiting for, kumbaga, like normal decision makers waiting for a sign. Are there like certain parameters that must be met, or you're waiting for?
Yeah. Well, of course, obviously, you decide to run because you think you have a good chance of winning. So, and polling is very important as a guide. So we're looking at the polls, we're weighing it, and then we will see.
So numbers.
The numbers are a major consideration, and that's what we're reviewing now.
How much work does the Liberal Party need to do after the 2022 elections? Coming from that, I'm sure it was a full run for you.
Which wasn't my plan, by the way, originally. I had planned on, actually, the original plan was to go for re-election in the Senate, but Vice President Lenny then decided last minute, and I had to decide last 10 seconds.
I love that you brought up last minute, because my question to you is, what is the timeline then? We're just over a year out from the midterms. Time is running short, I dare say.
Yes.
So what's your timeline for making a decision?
What would be last minute before the midterms?
Well, this is last minute in the context of a presidential run. So that was last minute.
A harder last minute.
Yes, because that's a one-on-one campaign, president, vice president. So this is the midterm. You have 12 candidates vying for, candidates vying for 12 positions. So medyo, it's not going to be as last minute if, compared to a one-on-one fight. So we'll maybe in the next 4 or 5 months, that might be a working timetable.
What lessons did you take away from the last elections?
Well, digital technology, is important. If 15 years ago, my first national campaign was in 2021, so that's 23 years ago. So if 20 years ago, you can't win without national TV, today you can't win without digital media, digital technology intervention. So it's a major challenge. Disinformation, in fact, is a malaking bagay yung disinformation. Kasi two-pronged yung disinformation. They will disinform about their candidacies, your adversaries, and then they will disinform about their opponents, which would be, in our case, us. And which is what we learned in the last election. Two-pronged yung disinformation. And therefore, we need to address that.
And that's what Attorney Chel was saying. He's been busy making legal advice TikToks.
Yes.
We also had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with, of course, another LP member, former Congressman Teddy Bagilat, and he said, admittedly, medyo nahuli nga ang LP pagdating sa social media game. And we were even joking about maybe making Manong Edsel Lagman, tuturuan daw paano gumamit ng social media. Have you been busy also tweaking your social media content and maybe, dabbling with the analytics or whatnot?
Well, I've been busy with my advocacies even before TikTok came around. In other words, we will do what we will do on the basis of what we believe in. I've been farming since 2012.
Correct.
I've been chairman of this. I was chairman of the Senate Agriculture Committee in 2010. So it's 2024 now. So I've been at it for the last 24, 25 years.
I have seen, though, your agriculture social media content, actually.
Yes.
Of late, that's what, after 2022, that's what I've been seeing. Pag si Senator Kiko, it's always around agri and farming. I just wanted to get your thoughts. Of course, agri is our main driver of inflation right now. It's a big, big problem for every Filipino.
Rice in particular.
Yes,
is
particularly that. What are your thoughts on our current situation? I just wanted to get a feel. How do you perceive the landscape? And are you happy with how our new Agri Secretary is handling everything?
Well, I did post about the NFA's controversy. 100 plus NFA officials and employees were preventively suspended. First, I work with these people. There are definitely a lot of good people, hardworking, decent, honest people in the bureaucracy, in the NFA. But of course, there are bad eggs. And really, in the end, unless good governance is still basic. During my time as Food Security Secretary, we actually were able to bring down rice inflation within a period of 1 year from 15% rice inflation in June of 2014 to 0.8% rice inflation in June of 2015 with a number of interventions, including purchasing rice at lower prices without tongpats, going after the hoarders, filing cases, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, clamping down on smuggling, and rice inflation went down from 15% to 0.8%. And in the 20 years, in June 2015, inflation was lowest in 20 years. So you can do it, but it takes good governance to do that because there is a well-entrenched bureaucracy and the suspension of the 100 plus NFA officials was brought about by what? Because traders decided to buy the rice. Who has the money to buy the rice? Not the NFA, it's the traders. So why aren't the traders being, who are these traders? Who are their, I think media should look into their names, who are behind it, how did they get away with it? Because that's the whole, we actually filed cases during my time.
I was going to say, you instigated a few hearings during your time into smuggling as well.
Also.
Rice smuggling.
So it's a combination, well, it's really good governance, combination of filing the necessary, implementing the law. You have the Consumer Price Act, you have the Price Act, the Consumer Protection Act, the Price Act, you have the economics, sabotage, smuggling, it's all there. So you just really need to enforce the law. And so we actually support the efforts of Secretary Kiko in going after, entrancing the bureaucracy.
Why is it so hard to stamp out the smugglers and the hoarders? As you pointed out, you guys tried. And this administration is trying too.
Well, admittedly, when they took over, what we started, was set aside. We had a very transparent process of bidding. You know what I said? What I said in the post was, that's the indicative of the entire agri sector. What happened in the NFA. It applies to all other.
Alin po exactly?
Rice, corn, sugar,
Gulay,
importation,
what
happened there?
smuggling. The agri-economy. Agriculture contributes about 9% into GDP. But that does not include agri-manufacturing, which means fertilizers, feeds. That's another 15%. And it does not include warehousing, cold storage, transport, logistics. That's another 10%. The entire agro-industrial logistics industry is about 35% of GDP. That's a huge amount of money going around. And why are the farmers poor? This is what I said. Unless the money going into that 35% actually is mobilized around building the capacity of our producers, that's why food is so expensive.
Yeah, it doesn't trickle down.
Where's the money going?
So there is.
Alam ni Senator yung answer.
But ultimately, it is an exploitative, oppressive, economic relationships that are ongoing. And it is actually enabled by government.
I don't know that we have the power to investigate. Of course, we have the power to ask questions. And we asked Senator Cynthia Villar questions as well,
Yes.
now that she chairs the committee. But we keep coming back around to the same questions around why is there an inside job? Why are there traders who buy? Why is there price inflation?
So
at
in
what
the
point,
names
what,
also.
where?
It's also the same names.
I will go back to what we did. No? Kasi nagawa naman eh. In the 42-year history, for example, of NFA during my watch, for the first time, we had failed biddings. we rejected the bids of Thailand and Vietnam for being overpriced. 4 times we rejected, we opened the process, and 4 times they came back to us with a lower price. The total for that year of importations, we saved 7 billion. So you ask me, why is it the same thing over?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of money is going around. So sabi ko nga, that's the step in the right direction. Go after the bureaucracy, but also go after those behind the sale.
The private sector.
This is an illegal, the allegation is it's an illegal sale of NFA rice to traders. So why aren't we talking about the traders?
Can I get your thoughts, Senator, on the
We don't
RTS?
even know their names. We know the names of all the NFA employees and officials. They've been provisionally suspended. What happened to the traders? That's where the money is.
Every so often, though, Senator, the traders' names come out, and they have been the same exact names. There's a cartel for every single produce. So,
Which is what I said also in the post. There is no cartel per se. Because, when the government points to a cartel, 3 fingers points back at it. The cartel is a conspiracy between government, number of corrupt government officials.
Your thoughts, Senator, on
and the business sector.
the rice tarification law was supposed to curb some of this activity that we do not like. What are your thoughts on it?
The rice tarification law mandates that we open up diba, our rice industry into, so that it's more, bring in importation, allow for support for our farmers. Again, it's implementation. Because ultimately, once you open up our rice industry and bring in imports, you have to build capacity of your farmers to produce more. And ultimately, again, any intervention must be directed at building the capacity of our farmers and our fisher folk. Thailand is spending double what we're spending in agriculture, government. Vietnam is spending triple. So it has to be better spending, but also correct, corrupt spending. So make sure that the resources are brought to supporting and building the capacity of our farmers to produce more. Why are food prices so high? Because farmers are not producing enough. Why aren't they producing enough? Because they're not being supported enough. Why aren't they being supported enough? The inefficiency, somebody in the inefficiency
Is benefiting.
Senator, I feel like we can go on and
why?
on.
Sorry.
And on.
Yes, just one more point.
and around, yeah.
When you strengthen and empower your farmers and fisher folk, then they cannot be exploited. You cannot buy dirt cheap palay prices from them. You cannot buy dirt cheap onion prices from them because you've empowered them. So there is really this antiquated, oppressive system that is enabled by government and these, sabi ko nga, the unconscionable partnership of greed.
Okay.
That has to be addressed. So it's good governance. Ultimately, put somebody there who will not kowtow to the system and who will fight it, with the support, of course, of the president. That's how you turn around the agri and economy.
Well, it seems that the past years, has gotten you to observe all of that. You've taken a back seat the past years. I mean, from being very active in government, of course. But I'd like to get your thoughts on what's been happening, all the political movements now. First, I think would be...
It's easier to talk to my my lettuce and my herbs and my
do you think
chickens and my pigs.
Do you think there is a sense of justice under this Marcos administration with the granting of the release on bail of Senator Laila de Lima? You filed a cyber libel complaint, of course, still with the
I filed two,
current
actually.
administration.
And I filed
and
against and I filed a case against YouTube and Google. So yeah, we'll see.
And also the criticism on President Marcos not doing enough to make up for former President Duterte's war on drugs. What is your sense on the current administration's enforcement of justice?
Well, it's a broad very general state question. Also. But let's, for example, I'm appreciative of this current administration's position on China. Definitely much better than the previous administration. And we support the effort to stand up against China and to, you know, and be mindful that, you know, we will not give up an inch. You know? But it has to move forward also. How do we now strengthen our alliances with ASEAN? How do we strengthen our bilaterals with the US, with Australia, with Japan, all those who believe that we should have a better, you know, who disagree with the aggression that is happening in the West Philippine Sea. So I agree in that regard. That is a...
So tama lang yung pag-iikot ng presidente sa buong mundo?
Well, you know, kailangan din niyang magpirmi rito at hanapan ng solusyon yung mga problema rito. But, you know, you don't have to go hopping everywhere to be able to achieve that purpose of, you know, pushing for our rights, diba? And our to our exclusive economic zone and our territorial sea.
And yet, in the upper and lower house and with the administration now, we're seeing a new opposition coming forth, the Dutertes and the Marcoses. Where does the Liberal Party find themselves in all of this?
Are you still in your
You know, it's so
opinion?
easy to say you're opposition. You know,
That's why I wanted
we've
to...
seen that already. Ang dali-dali magsabing opposition, ang dali-dali magsabing ayaw natin ng corruption, ang dali-dali sabihin na kung ano-ano, di ba? That we are for the people. Ang panawagan ko na lang, imbis na i-comment ko na lang yung sinasabi nila, doon sa taong bayan, maging mabusisi tayo, huwag tayo basta-basta magpapaniwala. Pag sinabi natin opposition, totoo bang talagang opposition? Dahil sa paninindigan? O ito'y oposisyon dahil may sariling interest na pinoprotektahan? Di ba? Dati, gusto ng tsa-tsa. Ngayon, ayaw ng tsa-tsa. Di ba? Ano ba talaga?
But actually, that's what the analysts have been saying, right? With a divided unit team, there is an opening for the Liberal Party now to come in. You could break up the numbers. You could gain more of
Well,
their
you know,
base.
a third poll is possible, but that whether or not may appetite for that remains to be seen. But, you know, in 2007, actually, I ran as an independent in the midterm elections. I did not join ERAP's administration. I did not join GMA. I mean, ERAP's opposition and GMA's administration. Because they decided, di ba? Okay, opposition will be headed by ERAP, administration by GMA. And I asked them both to resign. So I said, I cannot suddenly out of the blue, after asking both of them to resign, I will align and say, sige, joke only, no, I have to win. So I ran an independent campaign. I did not join any of the big tickets. That was, in a way, a third option to the two. But it was viable then, in my sense, because the administration was not very popular under GMA. And of course, there was people power too. EDSA was EDSA dos, and therefore the president,
So
former
is it
president
possible
Sastre.
again, Senator, next year that you could take that same road and run as an independent? Is that in the possibility of choices?
Well, sabi nga nila, politics is the realm of the possible, di ba? And depends. If they're going to go down that road and they're going to attack one another, then there might be an option for an alternative to both. But we will see.
Si former VP Lenny, nakausap niyo po ba?
Nakakausap naman.
Convince ninyo na tumakbo?
Well, we you know, her concern is politics in the local because of the legacy of Sec Chessy. So I can understand that and I respect that. But I went back to her and said, after all, Ma'am, when we were convincing you to run for president, you said if it's meant to be, it'll happen. So I would just leave it at that.
Well, one thing that's meant to be
is your show.
Yes.
Before we run out of time, you have
Yes.
a new show. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's Hello Pagkain. It's about farming, about food. We will be doing it here in 1PH, in Signal. And we actually started already. Our first episode was last week.
What's different about it?
Well, it's about food, It's about farming. It's the value of food in our, in our daily lives.
Do you visit other farms or?
It'll be a combination. We will visit other farms. We will be in our farm. It's Hello Pagkain. It's
So you also do food tasting. We can see you in Mario's in
So
Baguio.
mostly-
yes.
Mostly
We will visit
restaurants.
It's all about
restaurants.
eating. Filipino food lang ba?
Farming.
Farm to table,
Yes,
following that
yes.
farm to table process.
Could be around the
we will
world
have
too?
different. We will have cooking.
Okay.
We will have collaboration with chefs. We will have tips on agriculture, the plantitos and the plantitos.
Pero yung pinag-usapan natin kanina na problema ng agricultural industry, pag-uusapan nyo rin po ba?
From time to time, yes, depending on if there are burning issues affecting the agriculture sector, we will not we will look into that too. And basta ang ano natin dito, farming, food, and food security. And in fact, I was just there. We taped. It's harvesting. We harvested about 315 kilos of lettuce. So how do we move away from subsistence farming to farm enterprise? Tomorrow I'll be in the farm because I have grade 1 students from a school here in Manila doing a farm tour. The other day I spoke with, we have OJT, on-the-job training students from Tarlac Agricultural University. So we're doing all what needs to be done to make in our advocacy for farming and food security, and so that's
When can we watch this?
This is Saturdays, 11 o'clock here on 1PH, and then we also have replays on YouTube, and then we're also in. I think teasers will be in Facebook.
Facebook for
And
sure.
then my
yeah.
my own YouTube channel and my own Instagram account, Facebook accounts. It will also be uploaded.
Is this
there.
one season or tuloy-tuloy lang?
One season, and then we'll see. We'll take it from there.
So,
Of
hello
course, we will also-
everyone.
Hello Pagkain.
Hello
Tama pala,
pagkain.
parang nagugutom na
Nagugutom na rin ako kasi. Hindi ako tumingin dun sa monitor. But Hello Pagkain, Saturdays at 11. Lots of free plays online on your accounts and as well as on
Yes.
1PH's account. So thank you so much for your time tonight and for sharing your thoughts with us.
Dapat mapanood ko yan. Matututo ba ako dyan mag-farm? Kung
Yes.
wala akong alam.
Matututo kang magluto, matututo kang
Hindi, farm lang.
Ayaw
mag-farm din. Oo.
Okay.
They'll
yeah,
teach you to
yeah.
be domesticated.
How to plant lettuce and make it grow. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, former Senator
Thank you.
Kiko Pangilinan. Catch him again on Hello Pagkain, Saturdays on 1PH at 11 a.m. But that's it for the big story on One News.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.